Okay, so a very, very warm welcome to Christian, who's wonderfully volunteered to come and chat to us today for the November Solar Chat, all about calcium K. I know that a lot of people struggle with calcium K and calcium H quite a lot to be able to get decent images, and people don't quite understand what you've got to do to be able to get the best out of your telescope. And a lot of questions kept coming up all the time. Can't you get somebody to come and talk to us about calcium K and calcium K imaging? So it's absolutely wonderful to have Christian, who's volunteered to give us a quick a tour of this particular wavelength and its difficulties when it comes to different optics and imaging. So without further ado, I'll pass you over to Christian, and I'm sure we're going to really enjoy this talk.
Okay, thank you, Alexandra. So I just start. I think this is okay. Do you see my screen?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so this is good. I have, in fact, two screens, so this is why I have to jump on the other one. So it's about solar imaging calcium. Calcium K or calcium H is about the same. Just some, what's going on? Okay. So here are the main points of the presentation, so you can see what I'm going to talk about. First, I will explain what is calcium H and K, because depending on the bandpass, we can see the photosphere or the chromosphere or both of them. I talk also about calcium filters, which are indeed true calcium filters, and we will see that other calcium filters are not really calcium filters. Then we will have a look at the current offering regarding filters, because there is a lot of progress there. We will have a look also at the optics, because calcium is very challenging for the optics. How to deal with the solar flux, the energy, the heat. And finally, we talk about tuning filters, and in particular, double stacking. So maybe we will make some pauses during the presentation so you can ask some questions. So maybe every 10 minutes or something like this, we can have a talk. And feel free to ask any question when you want, in any case. So let's start by presentation. What is these two lines, calcium K and calcium H? So we are in the blue, deep blue part of the solar spectrum here, a little bit below 400 nanometers. This is near ultraviolet. This is the spectrum. Here you can see the two lines. These lines are very wide, in fact. It's for calcium K, it's 1.9 nanometer. Calcium K, it's 1.4, it's a bit lower, compared to H alpha, which is 0.4 nanometer. So they are very wide and they are very dark. The intensity at the center of the lines is about 5% of the continuum, so 5% of the intensity here. And compared to H alpha, the intensity in the center of the line is 16%. So very dark lines and very wide. But if we make a zoom of this part, I take this part and I make a zoom here. In fact, what is very interesting in the calcium lines, this is the very center. The center of the line is called K3. This is this one. And we can see that this part, which is very interesting, it's very small bandpass. And if we compare the bandpass of different calcium K filters available. Amplia, which is 5 angstrom. There is one Alexa, which is 3.8 angstrom. Lund typically is 2.54. And there is another Alexa filter, which is 1 angstrom. You can see that the bandpass of these filters are much larger than what is really interesting, which is the core of calcium K. So this is one of the issue of this. If we look at this very interesting figure, what do we have here? We have the altitude in the chromosphere over the photosphere. So we have, and here we have the temperature. So this is the evolution of the temperature depending on the altitude. The photosphere is here from ground zero, we would say, to altitude 500 kilometers. The temperature decrease, and here we have the temperature reversal. It is called change of the curvature. And starting from this, we have the chromosphere. Chromosphere is from about 500 kilometers above the bottom of photosphere, and up to about 2,000 kilometers. And beyond this, we have the corona, solar corona, and with a very steep increase of the temperature. If we take H-alpha line, the classic H-alpha line, if we look at the very center of the H-alpha line, we are in the chromosphere, and we are about 1,500 kilometers above the photosphere. If we look in the wings of H-alpha, so not right in the center, but away from the center, in fact, we look at the upper part of the photosphere. This is where we see the Ellerman bumps. Now, if we go to calcium, the very center of calcium, so this part here, which is very narrow, the very center of calcium is above the center of H-alpha. It's about 2,000 kilometers high. And if we go away from the center, in fact, here we go from the bottom of chromosphere to the mid chromosphere. And if we go still away from this, basically we see the upper photosphere. So depending on the bandpass, depending on the wavelength, we see different layers in the chromosphere or in the photosphere. So this is all about the width of the filters and the center bandpass of the filters. Depending on this, we see chromosphere or photosphere. So basically, ideally, we would like to isolate the center of K-line. We would like to isolate this. We like to have a filter, very narrow filter to isolate this. Unfortunately, this is not feasible because the filter would have to be 0.2 angstrom, which is not feasible to do, simply. It is impossible. The only way to do it is with a spectroscopy. That's it. And usual filters, calcium filters, they are from about bandpass 2.4 to 5 angstrom. This is typical. So basically, with this kind of filters, what we see is basically the upper photosphere and some parts of the lower chromosphere. There is this new filter, which is the Alexa 1 angstrom filter. So it's a bit new, maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And this is really an evolution, a very good evolution, because it's very narrow. but still it is 5 times larger than what would be necessary to see really the center of the calcium K. But we will see that it's very efficient and very interesting to use. So basically, depending on the bandpass, depending on the center wavelength, we see different layers in the photosphere and the chromosphere. This is another way to have a look at it. The spectrum, calcium K line, very dark, calcium H, very dark. If we use a filter, this one is 3.7 angstrom wide. We can see that we isolate a part of this spectrum. This is the center of the calcium K, the dark line. And you see that it's very narrow compared to the bandpass. Now, if I use a 1 angstrom bandpass filter, it's of course, the width is smaller compared to that one, but it is still very large compared to the calcium, the center of calcium line. The center is dark. This is this deep here. And you can see some 2 bright lines here. This is K2, these 2 bumps here. So even with a 1 angstrom filter, we see a lot of things which are indeed chromosphere, but also photosphere. So this being said, we can see that some filters are really calcium K filters, others are not. Basically, the limit is about the bandpass. Any filter larger than about 5 angstrom is not a true calcium K filter, because it will show only the photosphere and not the chromosphere. A true calcium K filter will show reverse granulation. I will show pictures of this, and not normal granulation, which is what we see in white light. So if I make a list of calcium K filters that are not really calcium K filters, there is the K-line, but the K-line, it is 1 nanometer. It is way too large to isolate really the calcium line. And there is also the Antlia calcium K filter, which is the bandpass is 3 nanometer. It's way too large. So it is a bit misleading when manufacturer present these filters as calcium K filters while they are not calcium K filters. Again, if we look at the solar spectrum with the calcium K line here, very dark, calcium H, and if we use the Antlia filter with 3 nanometer bandpass, we can see that the bandpass is really, really large compared to what is really the calcium line. So this is very important. Some filters are actually calcium K filters, others are not, unfortunately. So an example of it, this is a very old picture made with the Bader K line. Bader K line. You can see this is basically the white light imaging. This is granulation, typical granulation. You can see that the center of the cells of granulation is bright, while the border is dark. This is normal granulation. Now, if I go to, so this is not calcium K filter. Now, if I really use a calcium K filter, the picture is completely different. Now we can see reverse granulation. The center of the cells is dark, and the border of the cells are brighter. You see the difference. This is basically the same wavelength, but the bandpass is not the same. The bandpass of the K-line filter by Bader is about 10 nanometer. And here it is only 2.4 angstrom, much more narrow. And you see here the white plage. And here you can see anything. The spot is about the same. You can see the spot. This is basically the same. So there is really a huge difference between true and not true calcium Ka filters. We can see other examples for full disk images. So this is the Altair filter, which is 3 nanometer as a bandpass. This is the same basically as the Antlia, calcium Ka filter. We can see basically this, we see the photosphere. This is only photosphere. There is no chromosphere in this. This is normal granulation because it is very close to ultraviolet 393 nanometer. This is very interesting because we can see facula plages very close to the center of the disk, the solar disk. This is very interesting. And if exposure is very long, it is possible to see some hints of prominences. But you have really to increase the exposure very long. So this is photosphere. Now we go in calcium Ka. This is the Aluxa, 0.37 nanometer. So we can see difference. We can see that the facula plages are at the same places that the plages seen in capsium. This is exactly the same. Here we have reverse granulation. If there is a very small flare here, so we can see this. And if we have a bandpass smaller, this is double stack with 0.1 nanometer plus 0.1 nanometer. You can see the difference. These regions become darker and the contrast increase very significantly. There are some filaments visible. Well, it's very difficult to see the filaments. One is here and another one is here. There are some prominences visible here and also here. So you can see, I go back again. So this is only photosphere, 3 nanometer bandpass. Here, calcium, and here with a double stack. Huge increase in contrast. This is the same files, in fact. And here I made a comparison with an image made by Douglas Smith with the spectrograph. So with the spectrograph, it's possible to have a very narrow bandpass. And here you can see really the filaments here, filaments here. And when we know where to look, you can see that this filament, you can see it here. Oops, sorry. The filament is very visible here in double stack. It is also visible here in single stack with 1.4 angstrom bandpass. And here we can see nothing. So basically, when we go very narrow, we have more contrast and some possibilities to see the filaments. Another example. So this series of images were made with the 15 centimeters refractor, 1.4 angstrom, single stack, 1.4 angstrom plus 3.7, and here double stack 1.4 angstrom. So moving from this one on the left to this one on the center, we can see here some fibrils. It's very difficult to see. It's a bit like hair. You see, this is a bit different from here to this. And here you can see the fibrils. They are not resolved, but you can see this kind of texture, very special, a little bit like furs. So this is ready. And you can see also that these areas, which are called the quiet sun, are becoming darker when you go double stack. Then some filters are calcium K, others are calcium H. In fact, this is exactly the same. The images are exactly the same. There is a very, very small difference between calcium H and K. This is solar spectrum. This is the disk. The disk is here. The solar disk is here. And here, this is the chromosphere. So we can see a bit of chromosphere here near calcium K, also near calcium H. And in fact, near calcium H, there is another line which is called H epsilon. So in fact, when we use a large bandpass for calcium K, a filter with large bandpass, we have in fact calcium H and also H epsilon in the line. So there is a bit of a pollution in the line. But basically, this is exactly the same between calcium K and H. The images are the same. Visual observation, it's basically impossible. Most of people are blind to calcium K because it's very close to ultraviolet. In fact, only young people can see. I was able to see calcium K when I was 40. Now I'm not able to see it anymore. And also some people after cataract surgery, because some lenses are very transparent to near UVA, it's possible for them to see calcium K. But in any case, this is not good for the eye because the retina doesn't like near UV. So really, calcium K is only for imaging. This is not for visual observation for sure. So if we look at the options now, in fact, there was a lot of evolution. There is new technology filters and there is older technology filters. Something very important for imaging is that we need to keep exposure very short, basically shorter than 5 milliseconds. This is to freeze turbulence. So basically, we would like to have filters with high peak transmission. This is very important. And this is really the difference between the old generation and the new generation filters. So what do we have now? A lot of choices, a lot of choice. If we go with the 5 angstrom bandpass, we have this new filter, Antlia. I don't have much information about this, but it seems to be very good with good peak transmission. And the cost, I don't remember the cost, maybe less than $1,000, something like this, maybe. So it seems to be quite good. We also have the Daystar Quark. This one is the Mica Space Etalon, but unfortunately, it's rather dark. So it's difficult to make a high resolution image with this because it's really dark, so exposure time are long, and it's very difficult to freeze turbulence with long exposure time. There is Aluxa filters. There is one which is 3.8 angstrom. This one is really good, really good. It is hard coated, which means there is no oxidation. You know that there is a problem with some filters, this is oxidations. After 5 years, 10 years, they become oxidized. So this kind of filters with hard coating, there is no oxidation. Life duration is very long. There is a very good peaks transmission, 80%. This is triple cavity, which means it is equivalent to a triple stack. In fact, this is like having three filters stacked together inside only one filter. But this one is very expensive. This is the problem, and this one is very expensive. Now, if we look at the 200-angstrom bandpass, we have the Lund filter, which is quite good. It is really quite good. Even now, it is quite good. Maybe the peak transmission is not so high compared to more modern filters, but it is still quite good. And we have Daystar PE 2 angstrom, and this one is very expensive. It's very dark, so it's completely obsolete. And we have this new filter, the 1 angstrom Aluxa filter, which is really good, very interesting. The peak transmission is quite high, 75%. And it has to be used with another filter because it is basically transparent to yellow and so green and red. So we have to use it with another filter, such as maybe the Kaline, Bader Kaline, for instance. So this one is very good. Really, this is a game changer. This one is a game changer. And more recently, Solar Spectrum, they made a 0.6 angstrom calcium catheter. It is Mica Space Etalon. It's rather dark. It's rather dark, probably too dark for high resolution imaging. So this is a bit this is the situation now with some very interesting new filters, which are very good for high resolution imaging. Maybe if you have some questions at this stage, it's up to you. Then I will switch to the optics. Brian, maybe you raise a hand, I don't know.
Yes, Christian, just a quick question. You'd shown a few full disk images earlier that had a filament visible in the calcium K. It kind of looks as though like the 0.1 angstroms, where's the cutoff to achieve that?
Sorry, can you repeat the question because there was some cut in the.
What band pass do you need to be down to in order to catch the filaments in the calcium?
Okay. The answer is a bit difficult because some filaments are have strong contrast, and most filaments are very low contrast. So basically, I would say that you need you need 1 angstrom. You need 1 angstrom bandpass, but still, you see, this is 1 angstrom, and with 1 angstrom, the filaments are really faint. So basically, you will need 2 filters of 1 angstrom double stack, but still, the contrast is very low. So this is the limit, I would say. For the filaments, it's much better to have a spectral, for sure. But some filaments, for some reasons, can be seen with the Lund calcium catheter, which is 2.4 angstrom, occasionally, but this is very rare. This is very rare. So this, I will go back to the filters a little bit later. Alex, you want to know? No, okay.
Mute strong enough. Okay. Can you please go back to page 1 or page 2? Can't remember.
Yeah.
When we can see the when we can see the spectrum.
Okay.
Are you so far? Okay, because I have some refresh time issue here.
This is page 2, I think. Do you have it?
Stop.
It's okay?
Yes, phase 1. Yes, okay. So you have in the center here the car line on the right plot here. And then you have the little 2 bumps on
yeah.
the right plot, please. Yes, on the zoom. So
Yeah.
you have the K3 in the middle, and then you have the 2 little bumps here.
Yeah.
And when you zoom out this graphic from the Paris Observatory on the website, when you zoom completely in, I could see that the K3 are not symmetrically away from the K3 from the center. So K2 and 1 are not exactly, let's say, at the same distance from the K line. There is a little offset, which means when you are adjusting the filter temperature, there is a certain interest of, let's say, considering this little offset. Is it correct?
Yes and no, because you can see this is what you're talking about, the center of the line. So this is
Exactly.
very dark. Then you have this bump, small bump here, which is K2. So here, this is chromosphere, really chromosphere. Here, it's a bit of chromosphere and a bit of photosphere. And this is true that depending on the activity of the sun, the intensity of the lines, these lines, the 2 small bright lines might change.
Mm-hmm.
And the distance, this is not perfectly center on this. But you see the bandpass of the filter is much larger. So basically, it doesn't make any difference to have the filter bandpass really center or a bit offset. It doesn't make any difference.
Okay.
So I'll go on with so basically it was about the filters, but big issue is about the optics. This is very challenging because we are in a near UV, and unfortunately, most of the telescope, most of the refractors are not optimized for violet, deep blue imaging. Most of them are optimized for green light, some of them for red light, and most of them are very poor performance in the blue and even worse in the violet. So this is a big issue. This is not about chromatic aberration. Chromatic aberration means that the focus distance is different between, let's say, the red and the violet and the green. But this is not the situation. The problem is spherical aberration. So what we can do about it is that if we use longer F ratio, it's better. So if we compare a telescope with an F ratio of 6 with a telescope with an F ratio of 10, 10 is much better for this. Small diameters are also better because spherical aberration increases with diameter. So the most practical solution usually is to stop down the aperture. Basically, you just have to try maybe 60%, maybe 40%, something like this. You just have to try and see by yourself what is the best ratio. So it's quite good for most of the telescope. You divide the aperture by 2 and you're fine. Another option, which is a bit more tricky, this is only valid for refractors, which two lenses. This is to increase the distance between the two lenses. So you have to unmount the objective. This is not very easy, but this is possible to do it. And you have to set the distance between the two lenses at the right distance. And so you have to know what is the right distance. Fortunately, Skywatcher in USA, they made the calculations. So we know that the 15 centimeters Skywatcher, you need 3.2 millimeters between the two lenses. The 100 millimeters, we need 1.6 millimeters. So, okay, this is feasible. You can do it. It's not so easy, but the results are quite good, really good for sure. And ideally, the best telescope for calcium, these are all mirror telescopes. I mean Newton, Cassegrain, meaning only mirrors and no lenses, in fact. But most of the time, you can do something very interesting by simply stopping down the aperture of the refractor. This is an example with this famous brand Ascar. They're not very expensive. So there is this Ascar 140 millimeters telescope. This is a triplet. If we use it at full aperture and for calcium, it is not diffraction limited. This is the simulation of the spot diagrams here. The black circle here, this is the airy disk. And you see that a lot of light is not focused on the airy disk. So this telescope is not diffraction limited when you use it at full aperture. If you stop the aperture down to 50%, so the aperture is 70 millimeters, here you can see that all the light is getting into the airy disk. And so now the telescope is diffraction limited. So this is basically the idea. You have to stop down the aperture and try what is the best diameter. This is just a matter of trying different aperture stops. Schmidt-Cassegrain telescopes. This is a bit the same. Oh, not the same. In fact, they really don't like calcium car for sure. They really don't like calcium car. So this graphic, what is this graphic? This is the Strel ratio according to the wavelengths. 400 nanometers. So we have the blue here, the green, the red here, and here we have the infrared. The Strel ratio, basically, the only thing we have to know is that when the Strel ratio is larger than 0.8, it is diffraction limited. So the images are perfect, no problem. If the Strel ratio is lower than 0.8, it is no longer diffraction limited. So you have fuzzy images, it is blurred, it is no good. So you can see that, so here are simulations for C8, C14, C11, and so on. Basically, you need to have a wavelength larger than what, 480 nanometers. This is basically the green, blue-green, between blue and green. You need to be longer than this wavelength in order to be diffraction limited. Below this is bad. The images are really bad. So basically, calcium car, you can do anything in calcium car with Schmidt-Cassegrain. The exception, you can see the C9, 9-inch. This one is a bit better. It's a bit better. Still, it is not larger than 0.8 8. But depending on the unit, some are a bit better, some a bit worse. So this is this one. Maybe you can try to do something with it, but basically it is really worthless. You spend time and you won't be able to get anything from Schmidt-Cassegrain telescope with calcium for sure. So another problem, there are a lot of problems with calcium. Another problem is the atmosphere. The atmosphere turbulence depends on the wavelength. There is much more turbulence in the blue compared to H alpha, to the red. If we compare turbulence in calcium K and turbulence in H alpha, there is about a factor of twice turbulence in calcium K. This is huge. This is really huge. And this explains why this is so difficult to get good images in calcium K. There is much more turbulence in calcium. Second issue, the exposure time to freeze turbulence is shorter. So you have to decrease exposure time to freeze turbulence. And again, there is a factor of about 2. So you see that there are a lot of challenging the optics, the turbulence, and this explains why it is really difficult. But still, there are good news. Fortunately, there are good news. This is the good news is that you don't need a large aperture for calcium K. Why? Because the diffraction is smaller in the blue compared to the red. So basically, it means that with a 60 millimeter telescope in calcium K, you have the same resolution as 100 millimeter in H alpha. This is huge. This is very good. So you only need a very small telescope. A 100 millimeter telescope in calcium K has the same resolution as 166 millimeter in H alpha. So you see, you don't need to go very large. You can use not very, but small refractors, which are better suited for calcium in terms of optics, and still you will have a lot of detail. So this is very important to keep this in mind. You don't need a large telescope for calcium K. So now, what about energy rejection filters? How to deal with the heat, the energy coming into the telescope? There are different options. First option is to use, this is a C14 and the classic, you see the AstroSolar, Bader AstroSolar, density 3.9. It is very dark. It is really too dark for calcium K imaging. There is no way to do anything in calcium K with it. This is good for, let's say, a continuum filter, Bader continuum filter with this kind of AstroSolar density 3.8. It is good, okay. But forget about it for calcium K. It is exposure time would be too long. So a lot of turbulence. This is not possible. A good solution is the solar wedge, because now the transmission is 5%. This is equivalent to density of 1.3. So quite a lot of light. And this is good for, I would say, wide bandpass calcium K filters, basically Loon filters. This is fine. For 1 angstrom filter, it's a bit dark, but still it's possible. And too dark if you want to go double stack with 1 angstrom filter. But this is a good all-around solution for Loon filters, Loon calcium K filters, for example. the optimal configurations. This is basically either using an energy rejection filter in front of the aperture of the telescope. Now, basically, dual band filter means that there is a transmission around calcium, another transmission around H alpha. And now I think there are two main manufacturers, Altair, with size up to, I think it is 240 millimeters. It's quite expensive for sure. And Antlia, I think they go up to 200 millimeters. So this kind of filter, you put it in front of the aperture of the telescope, and that's it, you're fine. Another way to do it for smaller telescope up to, let's say, 15 centimeters, is to put the energy rejection filter not in front of the aperture, but inside the telescope. Here, this is my 15 centimeters telescope. So the light is coming from the right to the camera. The focus is there. And here inside this, I mounted a blue filter. This is an astronomic blue filter, but now there are other possibilities. It is 50 millimeters wide. And the distance between the focus and the filter is about 200 millimeters, something like this. So basically, this filter inside, it plays the role, exactly the role of an energy rejection filter, except it is only 50 millimeters in diameter instead of, let's say, 15 centimeter. So you can see this is an easy way to deal with the heat. And more precisely, so here I have the blue filter inside. Then here you can see there is another filter. This is for safety, I would say. For safety, an additional safety. This is a filter from Edmond Optic, which is 10 nanometer wide, one pass. You could use this for here, for instance. You can also use bad alkaline or another type of filter like this. And the use of this is to be really on the safe side, because this one take out a lot of energy from the incoming beam, and this one take out a lot of energy too. So, and then I have the first calcium K filter, 1 angstrom, and the second calcium K filter here, you see. This filter, it is on the tilt mount. But you can see maybe the level here. It is completely tilted. So this is a way to avoid reflection between filters. The reflection is going away. And then these two filters, calcium K filters, they are tuned by using the rotating node. And I will go back to this later on. So you see the setup, basically. No energy rejection filter in front of the lens, the objective of the refractor. A blue filter here to reduce the energy coming to the filter. Another filter here to further reduce the energy coming to the filters, and then the two calcium filter. So any questions at this level, if you have any questions?
Yeah, just a quick one.
Yeah.
Does the blue filter have an IR coating?
In fact, this one, no. Basically, this one transmit IR beyond 1000 nanometer. And this one block a little bit more, but not very much. So basically, infrared beyond, I would say, 1,200 nanometer are passing through, for sure. But this is not a big issue because this is not a lot of energy. And basically, the sensor is not sensitive to it. So this is not an issue. But to be on the safe side, I know that there are a lot of people which include a KG3 filter to be on the safe side. This is possible to put really in addition to this to include infrared rejection filter. This is possible to do it.
I also have a question, if I can.
Yeah, sure.
I have the large calcium filter from Lunt for the Lunt 152.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea of the bandpass of this filter? I think it's around 3 angstroms, I think, but I haven't measured it, so
I don't
no
know.
idea. No idea.
No idea. I've never seen a measurement of it. I have no idea at all.
Because I think it's different from the other one I have from Lunt. That's the normal one. And
okay.
that one is, I don't know, something like a little bit more than 3, maybe.
Okay.
The one I have for the Lunt has a inertial wedge, so it's safe. And it's easier to use, but it's only for the Lunt, for the big one.
Yeah. Okay. I see.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So basically, these are the options for, I would say, telescope up to 15 centimeters, something like this.
I do just have a quick question related to the filters. Hi, Christian. So I don't use a blue filter. I just use an infrared filter for protection. What is the advantage of having a blue filter there?
Well, basically, maybe I think I have some figures later on. Maybe it will be later on. The
when you mean
filter,
protection, when you say protection, it's protection for the camera, of course. We are not using anything else. It's the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say this is protection for the calcium filters because
okay.
they are more expensive than the camera.
Right.
Basically, if we compare a blue filter, the transmission of a blue filter is something like 30% of the energy coming from the sun, and ER cut filter is about 50%. So using a blue filter, you cut. There is an additional cut of energy. It's a bit better, but the problem with some blue filters cut calcium. So this is the problem.
Yeah, exactly. Because I made the mistake of putting a UV IR filter in front before I realized that it was a UV IR, and obviously that wasn't great. So I just have a pure IR filter now.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and you see, you can add some complementary filter to be on the safe side if you want.
But you don't use any sort of blocking filter. I mean, I'm familiar with the Lunt system, which has sort of 2 blue filters for calcium and then a yellow filter.
Yeah. In fact, what would be a blocking filter? This is that one. You see, this filter, because the bandpass is very narrow. This is only 10 nanometer.
Right.
And this one is very, I would say, very tough. I mean, it's really, you can put a lot of energy on this one, you won't break it. So this one the protection is really made by this one, the Edmond Optic 10 nanometer filter. But as you say, there are other options to do it with other filter.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
So I would like to show you now some images in double stack, just to show you the result of this. So this is calcium. We can see the reverse granulation. The center of the cells are dark. The frontier, the edge are bright. So this is 3.8 angstrom. Now, moving to double stack, we can see difference. You can see here, there is nothing beyond the solar limb. And going double stack, we can see a little bit of speckles. And we can see that there is a change on the surface. This is because we sample a layer a bit higher in the photosphere. We are still in the photosphere. Here we can see not fibrils exactly, but this is a bit like the beginning of fibrils. You see? We can see when there is some activity, we can see some prominences, we can see some jets here. So going, this is exactly like H-alpha. Going double stack is really very interesting in order to improve the contrast. You see the difference is huge. It's very interesting to go double stack. Here we can see some micro flares here and some flares here, macro flares also. This is double stack. So maybe I would jump that one at this stage to go here. Now, this is about getting the most of the narrowband calcium K filters. Something very important, it is the F ratio. It's a bit like H-alpha. You know, when we use Mica space étalons, such as Daystars, Mica space étalons, we need to have an F ratio larger than maybe 30, something like this. For calcium K filters, this is a bit like this. Basically, we need to have an F ratio beyond 15. This is just not a very strict rule, but a rough estimation. If you have an F ratio larger than 15, it's okay. And what is happening is that depending on the F ratio, the profile of the filter is different. These are simulations made by Mark Wagner for Solar Spectrum for 2.4 angstrom calcium K filter. Simulation starting at F30. The curve is there. This is the very thin curve here. And when the F ratio decreases, you can see that the peak of transmission decreases and the bandpass increases. Here we have F ratio of 7 and the bandpass become 10 angstrom. So we start with a filter which is 2.5 angstrom. And if we use an F ratio of 7, we have a bandpass of 10 angstrom. So this is why we need to use an F ratio large enough, and roughly speaking, F ratio of larger than 15 is okay. This is okay. Now, tuning filters. Tuning filters, so this is an issue only for very narrow filter. This is not an issue for calcium K filters like the Lund or the Antlia. This is an issue only for calcium K filters having a bandpass of 1 angstrom. There are two different possibilities, two options. One way is to tilt the filter. So we put the filter in this kind of cell. This is the RAF camera cell. And you see there is a knob here. Well, you can see it here. When we rotate the knob, the tilt of the filter changes, in fact. And when we increase the tilt of the filter, the bandpass goes to the blue. This is the way to do it. So we can tune the filter right on calcium K by tilting more or less the filter. The problem, or maybe the limit of it, if we tilt too much the filter, the bandpass increase. These are simulations. This is for H-alpha filter, but basically this is the same for calcium K filter. Simulations of the profile of the filter depending on the tilt. So in blue, there is no tilt of the filter. And when the filter tilt increases, you can see that the profile is dissymmetrical and the width of the bandpass increases. So basically, the tilting the filter is very good option, but you have to avoid tilting the filter too much, basically. This is something I made with a 3D printer. You see, in order to tune the tilting, I have a screw here, and when I rotate the screw, the tilt increases or decreases. This is a very simple way to do it. So how to tune, how to use it properly? It's exactly like in H-alpha. If you have just one filter, you look for the darkest images, no problem. So you tune and look for the darkest image. And if you have two filters, so double stack, what I do is first I tune one filter, I remove the filter, I tune the other one, and then that's it. I put all the filter on top of each other, and possibly I fine tune the filter number 2 if, in particular, if there are some reflections. There could be some reflection. The problem are the possible reflections. So this is the way I do it. And if you have issues with reflections, which is quite possible, one way to solve the problem is to increase the distance between the filter. This is one way to do it. Sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not okay. So you have to try and different distances and so on. What I found, I don't know if this is a general case, but I have found for some reasons, if I use a telecentric lens instead of a barrel lens, it seems to be better in terms of reflections. But I don't know if it is a general rule or if it is just it happens like this. I don't know. I have no idea. The other way to tune the filter. So again, this is for very narrow band filter, 1 angstrom. This is by temperature, using a temperature regulator. And basically the idea is that depending on the temperature of the filter, the bandpass shifts to the blue or to the red. When you increase temperature, the bandpass shifts to the red, and when you decrease temperature, it shifts to the blue. So this is an easy way to tune the bandpass of the filter, the center wavelength of the seeds. And you see, this is what I have made. It is very, very simple. It is maybe less than 50 euros or dollars, whatever. This is the focus of the 300 millimeter telescope, the telecentric here, the camera, okay. And here, the filters are inside a tube here, a T2 tube, and wrapped around this tube, I have a heating band, very simple, maybe $5 or 10. You see, I isolate the band, the heating band with this kind of foams. And I have a regulator. I bought it on the internet. And with it, it's okay. It's okay. I can regulate the temperature of the filter. So I can heat or decrease the temperature. And basically, it is accurate enough for double stack calcium K filters. I can regulate the temperature to about plus minus 0.5 degrees Celsius, and it's fine. This is equivalent to plus minus 0.2 angstrom, and this is quite fine for 1 angstrom calcium K filter. This is very simple to do, cost effective, and nothing to worry about. And in order to tune the filter, to find the center of the calcium K line, one way to do it, of course, is exactly as I said before, looking for the darkest images. But what I've done here, this is because I have it. I have a spectrograph. This is the SAJ 700 by Min, if you know Min. And you see the game is to have this. This is the center of calcium K, the dark line, and the bandpass is center on the line. This is it. This is the way I do it on the large telescope, the 300 nanometer telescope, and just with this very simple temperature regulator, which is not expensive at all to make. So this is it. I think I have some example. Do you have any question about this stage on this? But again, this is only for very narrow band filters. You don't need to bother about this with Lund filter or Amplia filter. This is only for when you use a 1 angstrom bandpass filter. Okay. Now I would like to finish with large telescopes. So this is about dealing with energy for very large telescopes, 300 millimeter telescope. So this is my solar telescope, 300 millimeter Newtonian telescope. And there the option used is to have a coating, a special coating on the mirror. This is a coating made by a Solar company based in Hungary. And you see the coating is like the reflection coefficient of the coating is like this. So the light near calcium K is reflected up to by 50%, and then the reflection is very low. So this is exactly as having an energy rejection filter, but instead of having the filter in front of the telescope, it is on the mirror by itself. So it's very effective because the transmission is only 8% of energy compared to the 30% of the transmission of the blue astronomy filter. So it's very effective. And at the focus of the 300 millimeter telescope, I have only, well, less than 10 watt. 10 watt is not huge. Still, you feel some heat when you put the hand at the focus. You feel some heat. So basically, I use the 3 nanometer bandpass filter in front of the telecentric here to protect the telecentric and to protect the calcium K filter. This is a filter added in protection, in fact, and it is fine. It is fine. So I think I have some example. Yeah. So again, this is the photosphere. The bandpass here is 3 nanometer. We can see granulation, some interesting feature here on the penumbra. Here, this is calcium K, 0.37 nanometer. So we can see the difference. Here we have reverse granulation. The center of the cells are dark and the border of the cells are bright. We can see here some light ridges here, again here. And here, this is the 1.4 angstrom filter. So here, this is 3.7 angstrom filter. And when the bandpass is much smaller, 1.4, you can see differences. Here we start to see the fibrils. The fibrils are really in the chromosphere. We see a layer of the chromosphere higher than here. Here we are at the top of the photosphere, bottom of the chromosphere. Here we start to be really in the chromosphere. But you see, it's very grainy because here this is the version of the telescope with no coating on the mirror. There is not a lot of light. Exposure time is very long, so this is not good. And then I have pictures with the mirror coated. This is completely different. So this is the mirror coated. This is 1.4 angstrom filter, single stack. You see the spot. Maybe you can see some fibrils going like a bit like spirals, you see, double stack. You see there is a huge difference between single stack and double stack. Double stack, you really see the fibrils here, going spiral here, and you see that the quiet sun is very dark now, very dark. I have some, and you see some activity inside the umbra of the spot and the flare here. I have a couple of images like this. Another image which is single stack, 1.4 angstrom. There is a small flare. You can see the spot, some activity inside the umbra of the spot, and going double stack. It is completely different. This is single stack, double stack. And you can see that fibrils expand nearly everywhere. Fibrils are these. You can see the fibrils there. These are fibrils. Fibrils are covering nearly all the part of the images, while here, fibrils are very difficult to see here. So double stack, you can see the fibrils. Of course, with a lot of resolution, because this is the 300 millimeter telescope, of course. And I think I have some more single stack and double stack. You see, it seems this is not the same field. In fact, this is the same field. One spot here, here, here. And the spot is here, here, here. Here we have microjets coming from the light bridge here. Huge flare, some flare here, here. And you see some very interesting activity across the umbra of the spot. And I think I have maybe one more, two big flare here. And double stack on the solar limb, we can see the speakers, the loop prom. Very funny, there is something inside the loop. You can see it's very strange, something going on inside the loop. Micro flares here and there. And I think this is the end. Again, micro flares here, here, some activity on the solar limb. And this is the last one. Okay, this is the last one. This one is a flare, and this one developed in maybe 2 hours. In 2 hours, it went to a maximum and then disappeared. So this is double stack, 1.5 angstrom double stack, Aluxa filters, and with the coating on the mirror, the solar coating on the mirror. And of course, this is 300 millimeters, so the telescope, there is a lot of resolution. And it's very sensitive to turbulence. These images are made at Saint-Véran, at high altitude observatory. This is not possible to do this at home. The turbulence is really too large. So this is it. If you have some questions. I would be happy to try to answer them.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Have you used the SAG 700 for imaging?
No, I only use it for testing filters and tuning filters. I know it is a shame because it's really very well made. It's fantastic. There is micrometers here and here, micrometer to set the wavelength. It is really fantastic. Yeah, I modify a little bit the optics, but it is really fantastic. But I've never used it to take images.
Thank you.
What are the advantages of coating the mirror and not coating it? You said that it's different. You get different images, but it's interesting. This is new for me. This coating that the Soli does.
Yeah, this is basically this is exactly as having the filter in front of the aperture. But the problem here, if I want to put an energy rejection filter in front of the aperture, it would have to be 300 millimeters, and it would be very, very expensive, very heavy. In fact, too heavy for the telescope. So basically, it is cheaper to have a coating on the mirror. It is much more simpler, less weight, yeah, and
but you can still use it for H-alpha imaging or no?
This one was specially made only for calcium K.
Okay, right.
But this is true that now, so this one was made 2 years ago, and now Soli makes a dual band. So it's calcium K, and there is H-alpha somewhere like this. Yeah.
Okay.
Alexandre has a dual band coating on, I think, 2 of his telescopes. I think maybe 3. I don't know. So it's a very good solution, I would say, for telescope, for Newtonian telescope first. You see, you have to. This is only for Newtonian telescope, and when you have a diameter larger than, I would say, 200 millimeter, something like this.
And also, sorry, just another one. I will shut up after. The G band, you didn't talk about G band, but it's very different from the images that you showed us. G band is a little, it's closer to the K line, to the calcium K, but it's very different.
G line is a bit like this. It's a bit like this. Yes, basically it's a bit like this, with a bit with less resolution, because G band this is not 393 nanometer. This is 430 nanometer. So this is the deep blue. Here, this is near ultraviolet. So basically, this is equivalent to this, but with a little bit less resolution and less contrast. But this is very, very interesting filter also, G-band.
Thank you. Outstanding images, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you. Alexandre, maybe you can add some information, additional information about the dual bands.
Yes, yes and no. I published only one picture on the Solarchat group, probably 2 months ago, only in H-alpha. This year in Saint-Véran, the seeing was very, very bad, and I have images in calcium, but I did not publish them. But I will publish them one day. I just need to work out and all these picture I have and what can I say? The dual band has 50% of transmission, like the calcium K50 you have here on the screen, and you have approximately 85-90% transmission around the H alpha. And Solar has managed to shift a little bit the calcium line, a little bit more to the blue. I mean, here you see you have transmission from 420 to 500 for 490 nanometer. So you have a certain amount of energy in the calcium domain. And Solar has shifted a little bit to the left, the blue curve. At the end, I think for sure I have a dual band. I have a little more energy than this, but it's still, let's say, acceptable. Thierry Legault also is having the same coating, and Thierry has published some picture quite recently, so you can figure all this, let's say, coating behave. My feeling is that because we have much less energy, I was imagining before using a full aluminized mirror, and I really had to manage, let's say, the heat coming to the secondary, and I tried different way to manage that. And last year, 1 year ago, I made a presentation of that. So this year I went for the dual band. At the end, you have much less energy entering the system, and somehow it's much easier. To give you an idea, I was able to make some picture from my garden. I'm living in a suburb of a little city, so I have houses all around me in all direction, and I was able to use the 250 millimeter dual band, um, not in a mountain, not in 3,000 meter, in my area at 300 meter level. So I really have the feeling that this dual band coating, or this mirror coating, is the way to go.
But of course, this is for, I would say, large size telescopes, because for smaller size, you can use just a blue filter or UV cut filter inside the telescope, and that's it.
Christian, this is Stephen Ramsden, and I wanted to just tell you thank you for an absolutely excellent presentation. It's very exciting to watch. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephen.
Brilliant. I'm just looking forward to the field trip when we can all come to the top of the mountain with you, Christian.
Yeah,
watch live.
that too. Me too.
And you know, maybe this is a bit off topic, but there is something very, very exciting, which is observing near a lake. If you have a lake, a big lake near your place, basically you need a lake of 500 meters, something like this. It makes a huge difference for the scene. This is really amazing. And this is Thierry Legault took a lot of pictures like this. Laszlo Frank 6 also. And recently I made some tests, but not with images, only with the solar scintillation monitor. And a lake, having a large lake, observing near a lake, this is a huge difference for turbulence. So have a look around your place if you have a lake, and try it. Really, you have to try it.
Trip up to the Lake District, Alexandra.
I can echo that. I have access to a lake near me, and I brought my solar scintillation monitor, and I was seeing 0.8 arc seconds for minutes at a time,
Exactly.
which was a pleasure to observe.
Yeah. Recently, I have a check at the lake nearby place. I had 0.3 during an average 0.3 over 2 minutes, with minimum of 0.15. But this is only a measurement. I don't know if actually the scene was as good, but it's very promising, let's say.
quick question, if I may, Christian. When you're talking about having the F ratio at F15 or longer for optimizing a lot of that calcium K work, does the primary, for a refractor, does the primary need to be stopped at F15? Or if you have an F7 scope with a 2x Barlow ahead of the filter, does that accomplish the same thing, or does it need to be F7 at the primary?
No, this is the F ratio came in on the sensor. So this is after the Barlow. If you have F15 after the Barlow, it is fine. This is exactly the same. Yeah, no problem. No problem.
Excellent images. Absolutely amazing.
A wonderful talk, amazing talk, Christian. So interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Best
Brilliant.
ever.
Thank you, Franco. Thank you all.
My wife's calling. I have to go.
Yeah. Bye-bye, Stefan.
Good.
Christian, while we have you, slightly related, did I read somewhere that you're making a second revision of your solar astronomy book, which is very good?
Yeah, exactly. We are in process. The updated text is it's finished. Then this is the job of the editor, the publisher to put things the way it has to be. So I hope, yeah, at the beginning of next year. Yeah, maybe I don't know.
And it's going to be an ebook also, or only paper?
No, this is, well, in fact, this is the responsibility of the publisher. So I think it will be a paper book. Yeah.
Because I have both, so I would be interested in buying the ebook, not another book.
Yeah.
Anyway,
maybe this is a question I can relay to the publisher if there is any interest in ebook.
Okay.
I would echo that too. I enjoy just looking, like, easily Control F to look for what I need to find sometimes as a quick reference than looking through the glossary and all that.
Sure.
Is it gonna be also in English? Or?
Sorry?
Is it gonna be also in English or just?
Yeah, in fact, the second edition in French was published maybe 1 year ago. So the English edition is a bit late now. So this is the English edition we are talking about. Yeah.
Thank you.
Arnie, do you have a question?
Yeah, first of all, fabulous presentation, Christian, and excellent images as well. I was wondering if you could say something about the availability and price of the Alexa filters.
Yeah. This is one of the questions.
Very important question.
Yeah, this is a very important question.
It's Christmas soon, you know, so
maybe Alex can answer, because I bought mine maybe 2 years ago or 3, I don't remember. So if Alex is around, he can say what is the current price and so on.
Sorry, I was not listening. I was typing a little note on the right side, annotation.
Yeah, we are talking about the Alexa 1 filter, and we are talking about availability and the current price. So it is available. It is available from Alexa or from their website, and the price. Recently, there was a group order. I don't remember the price we had, maybe 15% rebate or maybe more, I don't know.
Yes, so Thierry Legault organized a group order, at least for Europe. So we had 30% off price, which is already, let's say, good. For sure, for European import, we have to pay the local taxes and so on. So at the end, we have the US price for the Euro price, more or less, let's say like this. Interesting in this group buy is that Aluxa provided us a listing with all the filter they have processes, with lab measurement, which means you can then select two filters which are very close. Let's say the center line is very close one to the other one, which means, like Christian said, he has two filters, and the two filters are working at approximately the same temperature or the same tilt. And that's very interesting, because then you really have a control of your, let's say, your process. I mean, I have a first generation of Aluxa filter, which is working good at approximately 10 degrees Celsius. And the two other are bought from the group buy, they are working well at 23 degrees. And I really selected them to be working good at that temperature. It's much easier than for making the control after that. Christian said he has only a strip to eat the filter, and that's enough. In my case, for the 10 degrees optimum working temperature for the first filter, I had to build a little oven for heating and cooling, which means I have a peltier inside. I have a, let's say, dual, loop for controlling heating and cooling and so on. So it was much more complicated. So that's a real good things in the in the group buy. You can select your filter.
And the price, if I remember correctly, the price without the rebate is something like $1,800, something like this, I think.
So I think now the price is around 2,600, 2,400. I don't know exactly.
Okay.
But at the end, with 30% off plus taxes, I think we came to 1,900 euro, or maybe 1,700 euro. Can't remember. All including VAT, import tax, shipping, because we took the very highest shipping possibility. So it's not a UPS standard. It was UPS Pro plus plus. Because we order about 11, 13 filter, each $2,000. So you can imagine the amount of money which is crossing the Atlantic.
And it's a 2-inch or 1-inch filter?
It's a
The diameter.
25 millimeter.
25, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Christian, thanks a lot for your really interesting presentation and great images. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Ivan.
Yes, thanks, Christian. It's absolutely wonderful to hear all of this put down in one place. It's like a very, very good information resource that we've got now. That's absolutely fantastic. You know, the pictures are just incredible. I've really enjoyed it. Has anybody got any last questions at all, or shall we close up?
Hi, Joel. Maybe only one question concerning the perspective of solar spectrum microfilters. You mentioned that it is too dark for high res. What's then? Maybe you have some tests or
yeah. In fact, you know that there is there is one or maybe two guys. One on Cloudy Nights and the other on Solarchat. I don't remember his name, I'm sorry. But they have this 0.6 angstrom solar spectrum filter. And the exposure time was really, really, really long.
Can I be heard? Can you hear me?
Of course.
Yes.
So I was one of the people that bought one of the solar spectrum.
Sorry, David. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
I'm completely sorry.
It really was an excellent filter, and I believe it was as narrow a bandpass as advertised. There were some really interesting images, but yeah, absolutely. The very shortest exposures I could get were in the neighborhood of 20 milliseconds or something like that.
Yeah.
it was fairly dark, but it also is very narrow. I was able to see filaments pretty well with it, and it was a great filter, but like I said, it didn't provide the short exposures I wanted.
But this is true that looking at your images, the contrasts were there. This is the contrast was huge for sure. So there is this balance to be found between having a very narrow bandpass, huge contrast, and exposure time not too long. This is the difficult part.
Okay. Thank you so much for the great presentation, Christian.
Thanks, Leo. It was nice to see you. And Ivan also, because we talk on the Solarchat and we never see us. And David too.
Yeah.
And great. Thanks for the organization of the group command, David.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It was great.
Yeah.
A lot of work, I guess, for the Alexa too. Well, both filters, I mean, the H-alpha and calcium.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the presentation. It was great.
Yes. Thanks, Christian.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
I think we'll close now at this time. So thank you very much for everyone for coming. Thank you again to Christian for going through and making calcium K so clear for us all. And thank you very much, everyone. And we'll see you next time in December. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Take
Bye.
care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.